'cause it's the Say Report. You are now listening to the Say Report. Get on the phone and join with Dev and Sejin. They're recording now. It's a time capsule episode like no other. Crap, that's the end. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devin Decker, and joining me, my host companion, Sejin Sarowick. Sejin, please, for the love of God, talk, because I believe I lost you.
No, I'm just here with our special guest, Tim Conway.
Oh, yeah. What's a Tim Conway?
About 3.5 stone.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that we just did that. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a time capsule episode of the Say Report. This is an interesting one, though. We've done 3 very special episodes called Nothing, Noise, and Nonsense. And very much those are very special episodes. But this is our first time capsule that is basically a Nothing, Noise, and Nonsense, but in time capsule form. Our very first time capsule episode was our 8th episode, the Kesha Report, which we recorded early because Sejin was going to go see Kesha. Like, of all the weird things to, like, record an episode about, like, we called
weird fucking nothing. In the year 2024, after everything that's happened in this year, I am going to say, no, that was... I stand by that, me.
Sejin brings up a really good point. But then our first official, where, like, we gave it the title, Time Capsule, was our Alex Inc. episode, because we thought, oh man, this will be perfect. This show with Zach Braff, it'll run forever. Let's record an episode, and it'll be super prescient, like 2 months down the line. And then literally the day after we recorded that episode, it was canceled.
But it was higher ambitions than even.
Yeah, it was pretty high ambitions there.
We thought this show will run for 5 years, and we'll be able to release an episode. Even if the Say Report fails, we'll be able to release this and say we recorded this after the pilot, and like we could talk about like our feelings. Like we had these grand ambitions of literally burying that episode in the ground and not finding it for maybe a half a decade at least. And the idea that then the next day it was just shit on. It was and bad. Thus the time capsule episode was born.
And thus the time capsule episode was born. So what we're doing here, mostly what I'd like to do right now is capture this week. We're recording on November 14th, 2024, and I'd like to put a lot of my thoughts and feelings that I've had this week into a time capsule and bury it, and it'll be fun for everybody to listen to how we felt this week. And bonus for you, the listener, now you have to deal with this episode of the Say Report. Unlike most time capsule episodes of the Say Report, we do not have a topic that we both agreed on beforehand. We were supposed to. You've already listened to that episode. It released, it was the first episode in December of 2024. So bearing some just awful Alexander Incorporated style fuck up, you have not listened to this episode before that episode released. But what we do generally is Sejin and I have these production meetings. You're seeing how the sausage is made right now. So apologies if this is a trigger for anybody who has worked in a sausage factory. But we come together, we have these production meetings, we decide this is the topic we're going to talk about, and then in the time capsule, to make it a timeless episode that could literally be released whenever, we decide on something that is older, and then we study it, and then we present it. That's not what we're doing this week. This week, I have 2 topics. Both of these topics are relevant to the week of November 14th, 2024. And I want to get them out there. And if Sejin did his homework, which admittedly was given to him 4 hours before we sat down to record, he is also presenting 2 topics, and those could be anything. I have no idea what Sejin's 2 topics are going to be. I know what my 2 topics are going to be. They're my 2 topics. So that's where we're at with this time capsule episode. And just for a little bit more background, The reason why we pushed this recording back an hour, we're recording an hour later than we usually do, a nighttime recording during the week. And the reason is I was invited out to an event, and that event made me feel like I can feel human again. Not to be confused with the Beauty and the Beast song that was written for the musical and then later added into the animated feature. That is the reason why we now have Best Animated Feature Oscars. I thought I could feel human again, and I gotta tell everybody, not only did I jump over human to Devin, I am feeling like Devin Decker again for the first time in, I guess, 9 days, right? Has it been 9 days since the election? Siege?
Yeah. I mean, man, it feels like it's been a fucking eternity already.
Exactly.
But yeah, sure, 9 days.
Yeah, but 9 days. I jumped right over human. Like, question: are we human? Answer: we are Devo. Right? How weird was it that like my nickname for a bunch of people we went to college with was Devo? We're just gonna drop the end and call you Devo.
It's not. I mean, it's not that weird of a leap. I don't know.
It's not that weird of a leap.
How do you think nicknames work?
I guess that is how nicknames work. Siege. I dropped 3 letters from your name. I don't know. I just think about that all the time. That like Devo was my nickname in college. But I will also point out none of the people that I talk to now. Right. I am not friends with anybody who called me Devo in college. But I'm friends with Siege. But yeah. So that's it. So I feel Devin Decker again. And the reason why I feel Devin Decker again is I went to this event. It was an acoustic duo that was playing at a local bar. And I'm like, I'm going to go to that, right? Like, I feel good watching these acoustic duos. I was invited onto stage to sing a song. And the first song that I did was All For You by Sister Hazel, right? Just I want to make sure everybody knows where my headspace is. And that's fine. That song is in my range. That is a song that I have performed in front of people many, many times. But then they decided to do a Madonna section of their acoustic duo. And they led off with La Isla Bonita. And then they followed it up with Crazy For You. And I was invited to do Crazy For You. I don't know if you're familiar with Crazy For You by Madonna.
Crazy For You was one of the movie ones, wasn't it?
It's from Vision Quest, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
It's a very high, but I did it. And I'm just like, so I am currently running on the energy of a person who I intended to just go out, have a couple of drinks, have a couple of laughs, watch an acoustic duo perform. But it ended up with me performing Crazy For You in front of a bar. That's my energy right now. And I still have the 2 topics that I want to talk about for this week. So, Sijan, before we go any further, do you have 2 topics prepared?
Oh yeah, no.
I don't doubt you for a second.
I got a more cerebral one. But I stuck to the prompt, right? I knew what these bits were. Like the ideas that we're talking about, stuff out of space and time, still relevant. And I think that the more that our show goes on, the more I realize how relevant it all just fucking still is. The world, time is a flat circle and all that shit.
Yeah. We're not talking about True Detective, are we? I'm not in the headspace for True Detective.
Oh shit! Scrap that topic. No. Something else. I've got 2 topics. I don't think you're not gonna know they're coming. I'm confident you can talk about the 2 of them in some fashion.
I love
even if it is a full disengagement from. I still think you'll have opinions.
All right, that's fantastic. But here's the fun thing, right? I've prepared 2 topics. Sijan prepared 2 topics. We did them alone in our own corners of the studio. And now we're coming together. And if we happen to match on a topic, we're going to end the episode right then and there.
So we're going to end the fucking show. If we match on a topic, I'm not recording this show with you anymore.
All right, that's fair.
We have become one.
We are
Devo.
We are Venom. No, yeah, it would just be very if we flip on that. So the first one that I need to get off my chest, because this has been bothering me since it came to my attention 2 days ago. Sijan, we're going to talk about the Loch Ness Monster. Do you know how long the Loch Ness Monster has existed in the international consciousness?
In the international? Okay, wait.
Like outside of Scotland.
Sorry, that was me fighting back every urge to do a South Park bit.
It's about Three-Fiddy. That's fine. I'll do it. I don't care.
So I am under the impression that, like, if I had to put a year to it, I feel like 1300's too early, but I'm close, right? Like
Okay.
I feel like if I said something like oh the 1500s, like that would be kind of in that range.
Right.
So in my mind, centuries.
That makes perfect sense. And I will say, before revealing the information I have to reveal that has literally shook me to my core the past 2 days, the earliest recorded information about the River Ness monster, so not Loch Ness, dates back to 565, though then it's accredited to the 7th century. So already we're looking at like, oh, that's kind of hinky, the information that you're providing. But the first written account...
Wait. What the fuck is a river ness?
What is the River Ness monster? Apparently,
Yeah.
the Loch Ness monster live in a river called River Ness.
No, they live in a lot. Wait. Are they related, or was this like on the other side of the world? They have this thing happening at the same time.
Well,
that
so-
weird shit that always happens.
So, early precursors to the Loch Ness monster as we know it now. The earliest report, this is from Wikipedia, St. Columba 565. The earliest report of a monster in the vicinity of Loch Ness appears in the Life of St. Columba by Adamnan, written in the 7th century AD. According to Adamnan, writing about a century after the events described, Irish monk St. Columba was staying in the land of the Picts with his companions when he encountered local residents burying a man by the River Ness. They explained that the man was swimming in the river when he was attacked by a water beast that mauled him and dragged him underwater.
Some monks got drunk and said some shit.
Yep, right. So that's what we're talking about.
It's just a bunch of bullshit from some drunk assholes who were just like, oh yeah, no, we don't swim out there because the last time some guy did, he was nude and got eaten by a monster.
Yep, right. So there we go. I mean, that's how all monsters start. The Loch Ness monster is first attested to 1933. Betty White is older than the Loch Ness monster has existed in the international consciousness.
That can't be right.
That's crazy, right? The origin of the name comes from August 1933 when the Courier published the account of George Spicer's alleged sighting. And then November 12th, 1933, the first photo of the Loch Ness monster was recorded.
See, well, now that I could believe because of when photography came into play.
Right.
And I know that there's this thing that happens where there's always that blow up. When somebody sees a thing, then suddenly everybody sees that thing. I'm more familiar with, what's the one in West Virginia there, Mothman?
Yeah.
Like, that's the one that I'm really much more familiar with when it comes to the whole crypto shit. But it's the same idea, is that, like, nobody reported anything that ever looked like this before in history. Then suddenly one person did. Then suddenly 10 people did. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, and some of that's confirmation bias. Some of that is people just making shit up. But part of you has to wonder, 2 or 3 more of those people probably saw something, right?
One would have to occur. So the more famous photo of the Loch Ness monster is the surgeon's photo, which came into existence and common knowledge.
That's the one that's been like disproven, though.
Yeah,
right?
it's been
like
disproven.
a fucking,
Yeah,
log
as
with
a
moss on
fake.
it or
Yeah.
some shit.
That came out April 21st, 1934. And also, the first photo, I've gone on a huge, like, rabbit hole dive into this. The one that is attested to November 12th, 1933, meaning that as of the recording of this episode of the Say Report, you, the listener, are enjoying now. The Loch Ness Monster is 91 years and 2 days old in the international consciousness. That one was later disproven, and this is the craziest shit. They got the original slides. They could not find the negative, but they found original slides from that photo and revealed it as an otter rolling at the surface in characteristic otter fashion. The 2 lantern slides that were used to develop the photo. And that was in 1963. So it's also only been 61 years since the Loch Ness Monster first photo was disproven. Now, the craziest thing about this, Sejan, is that our entire lives, the Loch Ness Monster has existed, right? 86,
Right.
87. That's when each of us are born.
There's
And
fucking Rocky and Bullwinkle jokes about it. As far as I'm concerned, that makes it ancient history.
right, exactly. Like to us, it has always existed. So it's easy to think like, gotta be the 1500s. The fact that the Loch Ness Monster is not even 100 years old shook my entire understanding of this world to its very core. Because I'm
You want
happy.
to know what's fucking me up?
What's fucking
Like
you up, Siege?
in this, like the reason, like the thing that I am tying all of this to, and all of my true knowledge of the Loch Ness Monster, the little that I have, is entirely based on not even the original book, but the movie of the fucking water horse. Do you remember that?
I remember that movie. Isn't what's it, Morgan Freeman in that movie?
I just remember Brian Cox at some point.
That's
Is Morgan Freeman in that one?
I will double check it. Let me move away from Austin Powers and Member and look up the Water Horse.
Yeah, but the water horse, right? Like that's the
They're
one that really
making a
like
new
I
Water
remember,
Horse movie
and they
this
tie
year.
it.
I'm sorry. There's a Water Horse movie that released in 2024. A paranormal investigator links a bizarre string of seemingly unrelated events to the disappearance of his mother. So it doesn't even seem to have anything to do with it. Let me look up the movie that you're talking about.
But the interesting thing is, I wonder if they get into this and that bullshit movie too, as I like smack my microphone because I'm so into this Loch Ness Monster conversation.
I knew you would be, brother.
If I remember the original, if I remember the original movie, if I remember Water Horse, I think it has a subtitle, right? Water Horse, like
no. So we are
shit.
messing around. We are thinking of two movies. Water Horse, the subtitle was The Legend of the Deep. But we're thinking of that Island movie.
No, I am not.
Oh, you're not? I'm thinking of the Island movie that also has...
I'm thinking of Water Horse, where they fucking talk about, like, what are the Celtic water, like, horses that they're in, Kelpies, I think is what they're called, or something
Kelpies,
like that?
Yeah, they're actually half women, half seal.
So there's this like weird like thing where they like raise this egg and it becomes the Loch Ness Monster. Like that is the bit of that movie, is it becomes the Loch Ness Monster. And so there's this idea that it ties it into this other fantasy creature. So there's this weird part of me that's really fucked up because like, well, yeah, the Loch Ness Monster has only existed since the 30s, but we've had some idea of a Loch Ness Monster before that, right? But no, probably not. I'm probably just thinking of the stupid fucking kids movie.
Right. I mean, you might be thinking of, the one I was thinking of was The Magic of Belle Island.
What the fuck are you talking about?
The Magic of Belle Island. We'll read this. Monty Wildhorn, an alcoholic novelist of westerns, has lost his drive.
Fuck?
His nephew pushes him to summer in the quiet Belle Isle. He begrudgingly befriends a newly single mom and her 3 girls who help him find the inspiration to write again. And I thought of that as like the Loch Ness Monster movie. I don't know where that came from in my head. Oh my god!
No, I'm talking about the Water Horse, where they raise like
they raise an egg.
Yeah, they raise like a dragon in the lake, and then it turns out that's what everybody calls the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. So like that's where it starts to fuck me up. Is like you have the concept of the Loch Ness Monster, but unlike some other crypto animals, Yetis and like Bigfoots are kind of in the same vein, I guess. But there's this idea that like, we have an idea in our head of a one thing that they are, but they're so vague that people can do anything with those stories.
Yep.
So you look at everything from like Harry and the Hendersons all the way up to fucking Jesse Eisenberg getting people to vomit in a theater this year with his Bigfoot movie, right? Like there's this like there's this weird kind of flexibility to these things that the vaguer they are, almost the better they are. It's part of why I think it's part of the reason why I like the Mothman so much, is that like as a crypto, it has some pretty solid set like rules and concepts. Like there's some real, it is almost so, it makes it more absurd. Like it's crazier that there are some like straight up like rule sets about how the Mothman works and like the prophecy aspect and all that shit. And like, you're just like, man, the more rules you place, the crazier this sounds, right?
And
Whereas like the Loch Ness Monster,
it's more believable, right? Like I feel like rules make things more believable.
But like the Loch Ness Monster, because it's so vague, this idea that like, yeah, of course, at some point there were probably giant fucking shit in the water that they were like, that's a monster in the water, and you're just like, yeah, for all intents and purposes, yeah, that's the right word here.
Well, I mean, like, think about the fact that the reason that dragons exist in our consciousness is because of dinosaur bones, right?
It has to be dinosaur bones.
It has to be that we found dinosaur bones and we thought, fuck, it's a dragon.
Well, and the crazy shit is, do you know this very year, 2024, they were finding like I think it was mammoth remains that had like skin and meat
Yeah,
still on the
yeah.
bones? How fucking crazy! So then think about that in medieval times. The possibility of not only stumbling across dinosaur bones, but depending on where they stumbled onto them, there being like actual like leathery skin on some of it still.
Yeah, like
I
that's
don't know how
where it.
deterioration works. I'm not fucking bones.
Oh, Emily Deschanel.
I'm more
Is
David Boreanaz.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've always considered us to have a bones sort of relationship, but I'm totally the Emily Deschanel of this grouping. I hate myself for just saying that. But it is. It's one of those situations. Like, here's the thing, right? So there's an episode of Phineas and Ferb called The Lake Nose Monster. And I've always considered it one of my least favorite episodes of Phineas and Ferb because I'm like, oh, it's this like brand new monster. And then I find out 2 days ago that the Loch Ness Monster is like younger than America. The fuck is that? Like, how am I supposed to do that? And then I'm glad that you brought up about like the confirmation bias of it, because it first comes to like the cultural consciousness in a May 2nd, 1993 article in the Inverness Courier, as I mentioned earlier. But then afterwards, they find reports from 1871 or 1872 and 1888 where people are talking about it. But like, it really feels like they are made up. Specifically the D. Mackenzie one from 71 or 72. The account was not published until 1934 when Mackenzie sent his story in a letter to Rupert Gold shortly after popular interest in the monster increased. You know what that feels like? That feels like D. Mackenzie wrote a story and was like, and if I post date it, instant credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, man, man, this is so weird because I was just reading. I went down a little bit of a, oh man, fuck, I was gonna say rabbit hole, and that's gonna be a bad joke in a second. But I fell down a little bit of a hole this week, reading about the woman in the 1800s or some shit that pretended to be able to give birth to rabbits. And like it was all a big scam so that she could get like money off of the king at the time. Like essentially there was like if you were having kids, you could get money off the king, and then add to that if like there was something worthwhile about it, like you'd get more money, I guess. I don't know how the whole thing worked, but she basically pretended that she was like birthing rabbits so that she could get all this money out of the government, which of course then got scientists like being like, "What the fuck is going on?" And she got caught. She got found out that she was like doing some like weird shit with like rabbit bones and stuff like that to like try and prove she was birthing rabbits. It was really, really fucking wild. But it was this thing where
we can never use the term rabbit hole ever again, because I'm just thinking about this old dead woman's vagina. Thank you.
But there is this thing, but there's this aspect to it that, like, at least as far as what I was reading and what I could tell about this, there wasn't any evidence of it until somebody came asking for it. So essentially, this woman was just like talking shit and getting money and like, cool, get paid, right? Like that's what you got to fucking do. But it wasn't until somebody started actually sniffing around for like proof that somebody was just like, well, fuck, now we got to make something up, right? And like, I feel like that is how these things always go. Is that somebody is just like telling a fucking tall tale, right? Telling fucking fish stories out there, and like at some point somebody's just like, well, now you got to prove it, and it's just like, well, shit, this is the I have two choices here. I either come forward as the bullshitter everybody already knows I am, the easy road, or I keep going down this path and I invent this fucking thing that changes the zeitgeist.
I make my 30-year-old son pretend to be the son of God and establish a whole new religion. Christianity, people. That's what CJ just described.
Ouch.
But yeah, so yeah, it's just.
If anybody asks, your mother was a virgin. Why would I have to say anything about that, Dad?
Your mother was a goddamn virgin, Jesus. Jesus, and by the way, it's pronounced Jesus from now on. Yeah, so I've just been like kind of dealing with the fact that like the Loch Ness Monster, which feels like one of the oldest cryptids in my brain, is not that. And I wanted to bring it to you, and I'm glad that on some level it also messed you up a little bit, Siege. But my favorite my favorite part about it was totally the fact that like, oh yeah, no, I saw that thing, like roughly 50 years ago. Here's my report. I never thought to submit it to anybody until it was relevant. It's just
Nobody asked.
nobody.
What?
No, just I don't know. Like I really, it still kind of bothers me, the Loch Ness monster of it. And honestly, this could not wait for me until our recording proper. This is the kind of thing that I want to dump into a time capsule as well. And once the Loch Ness monster becomes popular again, we release this episode, and everybody's like, "The Say Report, we're talking about it."
I'm glad that you. I'm glad that you brought back the water horse legend of the
Deep.
Legend of the Deep. Thank you, Legend of the Deep again to me. You brought us back into the 2000s, the film landscape of the time. I think that's appropriate for where my first topic's going to be.
Oh my goodness. Go, C. Jones.
Devin, I think it's time that we need to talk about some actual goddamn comic book adaptations. Like, we need to have a serious conversation about serious comic book adaptations. And you think I'm being full of shit right now until you hear what I'm about to say. I think we need to talk about Road to Perdition.
That's fine. What an interesting thing to have to discuss. We have a history of talking about specifically comic book adaptations. Have we done American Splendor? No. It's in our short little pamphlet file folder of things to cover maybe one day, mostly because of Paul Giamatti. But yeah, let's talk about Road to Perdition, a film I've never seen, but I am fully aware of the fact that it was a trade paperback before it became a movie. Like,
well, okay, and this is why I was okay bringing it up, is because, like, first of all, like, I'm not surprised you haven't seen it. I'm just disappointed.
That's understandable. It came out in 2002, the same year as Goldmember. I was busy watching Goldmember, Siegen.
So, okay, so Road to Perdition, just to give people a quick backstory on it, was a series of thicker graphic novels, and they were truly graphic novels. They weren't ever released as, like, singular issues, right? Like, they were always released as books. But this was a time in which the, like, concept of the graphic novel had really taken off, so people were getting, like, contracts to do just full-on stories at, like, full length. And Road to Perdition is this gorgeous story that takes place in, like, the mobster era of America, the 1920s, 1930s era, and, like, there's a main character, Michael Sullivan, who is a mobster hitman. I have memories of him being, like, literally, like, working for, like, Al Capone or something like that. But in the story of the movie, at least, I don't know much about the comics, but it's a non-entity. It's a made-up mobster by the name of Rooney, portrayed beautifully in the movie, to the point where he got an Oscar nom, final film role of all time, Paul Newman, right? This crazy fucking role for Paul Newman to be this scary ass mobster, and like his final role is on screen. But it's this story about Michael working for Rooney, and then there's all this intrigue and stuff, and Rooney's own son, like, hates, like, Michael because, like, he's a better son to Rooney than Connor is. Like, there's all this crazy, like, clearly Godfather inspired, very, very tropey stuff that happens, right? But the true point of the story is that Michael's family gets killed except for his young son, Michael Jr. And him and Michael Jr. go on basically a revenge quest that spans a year or so of them going across the country, going after all of these people, basically going to the top, where they do get to the actual factual mobster, John Vitti, that existed. Nicky Vitti, sorry. And they get to Nicky Vitti, and, like, there's all this stuff about that's tied up in what's going on with Rooney, and, like, and ends up not playing ball. And Michael is this very, like, troubled character who's trying to do right by his son and get revenge for his wife and other child that has been killed. Like, there's all this stuff about, like, Michael's morality, and it's all watched through the son's eyes. All of this is very, very, very heavily inspired by Wolf and Cub. Like, that's how I was introduced to the concept of Road to Perdition. Wolf and Cub is a super old, but, like, a historically important, I will put it that way, manga series that was written in early Japanese manga, that told the story of a samurai and a young child that he ends up raising, and their stories that as they travel across feudal Japan, right? Bob's Burgers straight up calls it out at some point in a full episode with Louise and Bob being super into it, right? Wolf and Chick, right?
Just to pause for station identification briefly. It's Lone Wolf and Cub. I have heard it called Wolf and Cub 100 times. There's a beautiful Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 episode that is also very inspired by it. But just, it's lone Wolf and Cub if you're looking for it. I understand why Season would refer to it as just Wolf and Cub.
I think you'll find it if you call it. Yeah.
Colloquially, it's known as that. I just wanted to make sure that,
Right. So Road to Perdition really leans into a lot of inspiration from that story, from those stories in like the raising of a young child in this world of violence and revenge, and like what does it mean to pass on this like cycle of violence or to try and end it, and like all of this beautiful stuff about basically, in all honesty, masculinity. Like it's a huge story about the idea of what it means to the creators of this film, what manhood looks like and what it means to be a good man versus a bad man and all of this stuff, right? So it's this gorgeous film, does gangbusters. It's an $80 million film, makes $200 million, so like it's considered a financial success. Critically, it's loved, like everybody is praised in it. Tom Hanks as Michael Sullivan, it is the closest you get to him ever playing a villain. He is downright fucking scary in moments, right? Very few like changes from the graphic novel, which was really big at the time. Like as a comic book nerd, like even then, like it was when I was just coming into kind of my comic book nerddom. So everybody talking about how, man, this is one of the more accurate comic book adaptations was like wild, right? I think the only really big change I think anybody noted and still praised was Jude Law, who plays kind of the big antagonistic hitman and the whole thing, chasing them all over the place. In the original series, it's different guys, and Michaels just takes them out and kills them. They do this really wild thing in the movie where Jude Law just plays one guy after them the whole time, and Michael still kicks his ass, but he just keeps coming back more and more scarred and disfigured. Like at some point, he just has like a face full of buckshot by the end of the movie. It's crazy. Like what they do with Jude Law in that movie and what they decide to do with that character as an amalgamation of other characters in the comic. Like it was one of those things at the time that was like, yeah, they changed it because they always change these things, but they did this, and it was like praised that they did that. Like it's a really interesting kind of thing to look at as an adaptation, as a film, because of again, Paul Newman's final movie, fucking Tom Hanks basically playing a bad guy. Like as much as Michael is supposed to be questionable in his morals, he's always trying to be good, and he definitely wants his son to be better than him. He is still a bad person, and that's fucking wild to watch Tom Hanks take a Tommy gun out on somebody. Like it is nuts. Yeah, it is a phenomenal little piece of cinema. And like the fact that we don't talk about it more in this era of comic book movies kind of trying to figure out where they want to be and what they want to be. I mean, people lost their shit about Joker, the first one, and because of the ways in which it was willing to try and be a good movie first and then be a comic book movie. And like we were already doing that. We just don't think about certain movies as comic book films. I'm not even pointing to Road to Perdition as the only example of this. There are plenty of movies out there that are based on graphic novels and comic books that we don't think about them in that way because they don't present themselves in that way.
Right. I mean, like, obviously this discussion jumped into my mind. Ghost World, right? I already name-checked American Splendor. Art School Confidential is another one that jumps to mind.
Fucking wild one. Art School Confidential, the one all about the art school student going around and murdering everybody, right?
Persepolis is one of those ones that, like, and that's an animated film, so it's easier, but, like, what Persepolis is about, like, the fact that it is Iranian girl, like, during the Islamic Revolution, like, that stuck with me when I saw that in 2007. And it was one of those things that, like, nobody wanted to talk about. And I'm like, but, like, look at this. Like, people other than... It's a thing. And I really enjoy this topic for this Time Capsule episode because this is what I want to talk about in terms of, like, comic book adaptations. Because we all think about Batman 89. We... at the Say Report are guilty of that, right? Talking about how Batman 1989 ignited this entire revolution of let's look at comic books and adapt them instead of just adapting novels, right? I think about it's not Capote It's like the movie Twin Capote. Is it Infamous? The name of that one?
Oh
Daniel
yeah,
Craig.
funny enough, Daniel Craig in
Yeah.
that and also in Road to Perdition as the antagonistic son of Rooney as Connor, like
Yeah.
a really interesting role for him too. But yeah,
Yeah, so like Infamous, starring the Dream Lord from that episode of Doctor Who. I can't think of his name right now. He would then later go on to play I'm a Screen guy from Marvel movies. What the hell is that guy's name?
What are you talking about? You're talking about from Captain America.
Captain America, yeah.
Okay.
I can't think of the guy's name.
I'm surprised he's also not in Road to Perdition. I will look him up while you do your thing.
Please, Toby Jones.
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones.
Does he play Churchill at some point?
I believe he did in one other thing, yeah. But like I like think of him as Truman Capote because I love that movie Infamous. I watched them like right near each other, and actually I remember one of my coworkers at Hollywood Video, because I was at Hollywood Video at the time, being like, "Did you watch that movie Infamous?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was really good." And she's like, "It's just Capote," and I'm like, "Yeah, but it's like more about the writing of In Cold Blood and less about Truman Capote." And I'm speaking for myself here, but I don't think Sejan will have any problem co-signing this. We love Philip Seymour Hoffman here at the Say Report, right? I'm a big fan of Philip Seymour Hoffman. I celebrate his whole thing. I think that Infamous was the better story of Truman Capote writing In Cold Blood.
Wait, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Capote was a character study of the man.
Yeah.
Infamous was a study of the event.
Right.
And those are just two different approaches to the same point in a man's life. So like I think that makes them apples to oranges in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I don't know. The fact that they came out like right near each other.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Like,
they were totally movie twins. It's in that same conversation that you see all the time with that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like two guys were talking in a room and they went in separate directions and wrote two different movies. These are what we got, right? 100%. But I don't think that you can ignore the fact that you can't ignore the fact that Capote was very focused on talking about Truman Capote, whereas like Infamous was very much all about talking about the events that he was writing about instead. And like he's more of a force within it moving shit forward than he is anything more than a character, right?
It's very interesting. So I don't know, but Infamous is the one that I recall more. I think that was a more interesting film. Not to discount what Philip Seymour Hoffman did playing Truman Capote in that film, but in one of them, and I always attribute it to Infamous, and I might be wrong here, he talks about how he's writing a new book and it will make a wonderful film. And it was such an interesting, eye-opening moment for me that, like, novels were being adapted to films in, like, the 30s and 40s and 50s.
It might be in both of them, but I do think that is Philip Seymour Hoffman, because he's talking about, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's famously him talking about Breakfast at
Tiffany's, yes.
Right?
So
and
it would
him
make
talking
more
about the
sense
idea
from
that
Philip Seymour Hoffman. But I do think that both films end up touching on the fact that, like, he was writing novels and novellas specifically
because Capote himself was known for that mentality, right? Yeah. Like he wanted that. He saw the potential in it. He understood that that's where the world was going. And there was a little piece of him, a large piece of him, that wanted a piece of that pie. Like, he wanted to be working in Hollywood. He wanted to be writing movies, but he found himself more, better at doing what he was doing.
Right.
Like it's that curse of the,
Yeah, that whole moment. You know what? So it is definitely Capote, because both of them have Harper Lee, author of To Kill a Mockingbird, in them. And it's Catherine Keener who he's having the conversation with. So that's Philip Seymour Hoffman in Capote having the conversation. Not Sandra Bullock as Harper Lee in Infamous. Crazy movies. Just like insane that both of those movies exist. But I think about that conversation a lot where he's like, it'll make a lovely film. And it's just like, it's sort of the thing that like opened up my interest into how we are now adapting comic books, because like that's in a way more popular literature than like what actual literature is. But like every novel,
if you don't think that the entire Absolute universe that has recently launched through DC is not an attempt to pump some stories out they can make into some new movies we haven't seen before. Like, it feels like real ripe for the plucking material is exactly what they're putting out right now.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with any of that. I know like some of the titles, but I haven't read any of them yet.
Oh, well, do you know what the bit is? What the concept is?
I know, isn't the Batman one the fact that like only one of his parents died? Like, I don't know anything else more about it.
So the absolute universe is being treated at the meta level. The absolute universe is being treated like the Ultimates concept in Marvel. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to tell all new origin stories. Shit's going to be different. Y'all are going to have to deal with it. But this is going to be what we do for a while. And some of it will be definitive. In retrospect, we now know some of it will be definitive and some of it will be forgotten, right? But right now they are rewriting DC history. So, for instance, with Batman, just because you already mentioned it,
no. I remember now. Is it Batman is not rich? The Joker is rich, right? Like, that's.
I don't know if they've touched on the Joker yet because they're only like 2 or 3 issues in at this point. But the idea is that he is not Bruce Wayne, the socialite. He is Bruce Wayne, the like everyman. He like is a plumber for Gotham, like Gotham City, and like he decides he's going to fight evil, but like he's coming at it from this mentality of being one of the people. Yeah, so like that kind of shit, and like some of that stuff makes you kind of like roll your eyes because like what the fuck are they doing? But if you remember the ways in which they just decided with the Ultimates universe with Marvel to just be like, no, this is just what it is now, and that became the definitive story of some of these characters. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen going forward. Superman.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Ultimates, where like Thor is a fallen god from Asgard who has to regain his worth to be a god, as opposed to the whole Donald Blake found Mjolnir and he can become Thor. That was the story of Thor for so long before the Ultimates.
What I was going to say is like, just to give another example, one of the bits with Superman from what I've seen is he doesn't leave Krypton until he's like 10.
Oh, wow.
So he has memories of Krypton. So like that kind of shit is going on. Yeah, like they're wild shit. So they're doing this whole like revamp and retelling of all of this stuff, and you get the feeling that it's like, because now we can do an origin Superman story again or an origin Batman movie again, but it will be different. It won't be the one you've seen every time. And it's just like, oh, okay. Like I'm on board for a lot of it, but there is definitely this feeling of we needed to change it up so that we could keep making Batman movies, but not the same Batman movie.
Yeah, it's crazy. Especially when you consider, why are origin stories what we tie to like superhero storytelling? These are established characters. Like, imagine if I don't know. I just don't get it. It's weird to me.
I think because part of it is that it's a complete story, you know, like there's something about it's hard to find a good arc in the middle of a superhero's existence that doesn't have something pulling from earlier, something pointing to later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
Whereas
that.
like
That
an
makes
origin
sense.
story has a definitive starting point, at least, if not also a definitive ending point, depending on who you're talking about.
Right. But I think like that's one of the reasons why I like Howard the Duck so much as a movie, right? Not to like derail this weird time capsule experiment we're doing right here, but like he just exists as Howard the Duck and gets pulled to Earth. And like, as much as that is his origin story, like there's so much more about that character that gets to be developed outside of, I was bitten by a spider. Here's how I got my powers. It's just...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just better. I can't believe you're going to make me say this. I think it's just better handled, better written as a story than some of the worst ones, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think that movie specifically, just talking about the movie for Howard the Duck, is so ingrained in, he has been sucked to this world and he wants to get back, and it's all about him wanting to get back and him learning that, well, he's not going to get back, so get used to it here. That every minute of that movie is dripping with the concept of his origin. You know what I mean? So that is it's still an origin movie. It's just that it is, as you said, better balanced, I guess, in that the ways in which it kind of shows other stuff, right? But compare that to something like No Way Home, right? Where it's like, okay, if at this point, if you were not on board with not only our Spider-Man, but 2 other Spider-Mans, you're not going to get half of it. Like, that movie does not give a fuck if you are new to this. It's like you buckle up, you're in. Like, just deal with it.
I mean, you say that. Spider-Man 3, which we have not yet covered, but we do plan on covering if the Say Report is still a show in 2027, it literally retells his origin as like the inciting action of that film. And it's the third movie, and everybody was on board for the good Doc Ock episode, right? Like that was a weird choice. I don't know. It's just superhero movies and comic book movies. I think the central drive of this particular topic that you've brought to us are very different. And there are so many comic book movies that exist. I mean, the Ninja Turtle stuff, right? I read so many people talking about, how have the Ninja Turtles never done a crossover with Daredevil? And it's like, well, because like they already did, right? Like their whole first issue is a parody of the Daredevil. Daredevil's origin is also their origin. So like you'd be putting a hat on a hat. And on some level, it is weird that it like never happened. But also, like, the Ninja Turtles have become this global brand, this huge multi-million-dollar property. And it's like, maybe we don't want to call attention to the fact that this started out as two guys in their studio in New Hampshire poking fun at Frank Miller Daredevil. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But yeah, no, so the thought of Road to Perdition as a comic book story, clearly something that I've already known, not something that drove me to see it, but now I want to watch it, right? Like, I want to, like, the lone wolf and cub of it all and everything you talked about, the way that, like, Jude Law's Maguire character becomes sort of like Mr. X from Resident Evil 2, where, like, he just persistently is chasing them. Like, those seem like really interesting changes to make it more cinematic, right? And that is the big deal there, right? Is when you're adapting something from the written page, there are certain cinematic concessions that you have to take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know. Anything else on this topic before we transition into my topic? Number 2.
No. Let's go into your number 2.
Okay. So as we mentioned, our very first Call the Time Capsule episode was on Alex Inc., starring Zach Braff. And for this topic, I bring to you the 4-episode test of the Damon Wayans Jr. We got no fucking clue what we want to do with this show, Papa's House.
Okay, here it is. This is the nugget. This is the show this is the episode that Devin wanted to record, everybody. He just snuck it into the third act.
No, I really wanted to record about the Loch Ness Monster, and then I thought I should have something to back this up. But I'll be honest with you. So the show is called Papa's House, right? Originally, when it was so here's the best part about Papa's House, right? There's been 4 episodes. The best part of Papa's House is that every episode, instead of like a post-credit scene, it is bloopers from when they shot the episode. And you got Damon Wayans and Damon Wayans Jr. there.
Man, that feels like some good 90s shit. I love that.
Like, it's beautiful. Absolutely love it. Damon Wayans Jr. in the 4th episode dressed up like his father and did a very excellent impersonation of his father to try to get his father to pay for his kids' private school. And this is why Papa's House doesn't know what the fuck Papa's House wants to be. So the first episode, which was the pilot of this, was called Raising Damon, which is crazy. I don't know why that was the title of this ever. What the fuck does that even mean, Sajin? Why would you call it Raising Damon?
Well, because you have Damon and Damon, and so it's funny because you're referencing both of your main dudes, and Raising Cain is a phrase. So
yeah, I don't know, Raising Damon, like maybe Raising Demon, and then like it sounds like Damon, but they are both called.
Oh,
Damon.
That's true. I just went to Cain, but you're right.
Right. Like I don't know. Maybe it's about chicken fingers, and I just haven't gotten to that episode yet. I've only
Raising Cain isn't saying outside. They just use that for the chicken fingers.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming my deepest, darkest truths.
You honestly thought it just came from the chicken people.
No, I knew it came from the Bible. I've read the Bible. I read it 20 years ago, but a lot of it stuck. So it's called Raising Damon, and the central focus of the pilot of this series is that Damon Wayans Sr., right, Papa, hereafter referred to as Papa, is a big-time radio host of the show Papa's House. For some reason, it is on a sports radio network, but he plays music. And the first episode, like, corporate is a little worried about your show, so we're going to bring in a female voice. It's Essence Atkins from Smart Guy. She played the older sister in Smart Guy, who is brought in to bring a female perspective to Papa's House, because Papa's House is a pretty problematic radio program. Very misogynistic, does not have any female perspective. It is just one man who has been talking into a microphone for like the last 30 years. And we're supposed to believe that he's like Fraser Cranian levels of successful, like worth multi-million dollars. But corporate is afraid that the show is outdated, so we're going to bring in this female voice. That's the pilot of it, is him being upset that he now has to work with this co-host, that now his radio show is going to be like not televised, but live streamed. So he's like, what are all these cameras? What are all these monitors? And oh, it's for the live stream. So he is this like radio freaking Neanderthal who is being forced to like get with the times. And he's also
I think the term would be Luddite, right?
Yeah,
like
Luddite,
that would be where we would go.
Yeah. And on top of that, he's also this like gross misogynist. Now, Junior, who is Damon Wayans.
So wait. Yeah. He's just Joe Rogan then? Is that the bit? Is he's just like a Joe Rogan type?
No, but he's not as bad as Joe Rogan. But it is just very much this show is.
Then they couldn't make a show out of it. But the idea is he's a misogynistic, somewhat sports guy that is also into like weirdly talking about like politics he shouldn't be.
And vintage music, and he does vintage. He plays like vintage songs from like the 60s and 70s. And it's just like, what is this show? Like, if it's on a talk sports radio network,
is there any indication that like he like created the channel or some shit? Like he gets free reign to do whatever the fuck he wants for some reason? Is he super rich or something?
He is super rich, but also like there's a corporate structure that's like your show is alienating and your ratings are going down, so we need to make changes to appeal to a new audience.
Look, I'm all for the idea of, you know, diversity and bringing in the voice of somebody that has been absent from the conversation and all of that. But why was their first thing not stop playing music in the middle of our sports show?
Yeah, right. Like it's one of those situations where it's crazy. But then the whole end of it where he's like, I don't know if I can do this show if I have to work with you. But then she tells a whole story about how he inspired her. So like all of her things. So she's like a doctor. She's like the Fraser Crane psychologist part. Fraser seems to be like, let's do a show that's Fraser. Is like, I feel like how this was pitched. We haven't even talked about Junior yet, right? And what Damon Wayans Jr., and he will be referred to as Junior going forward. But yeah, Essence Atkins, who plays Ivy, she is a pop psychologist who writes a bunch of books, and she's known for that. So it's also like becoming more of an advice show, which doesn't make any sense. And the whole thing is that like, I used to listen to you, you're the reason I did what I did. So like there's some weird hero worship while the whole time you're like, when are they gonna get these two to fuck? And it's real uncomfortable. I'm gonna just be honest about that. The pilot of Papa's House is hyper uncomfortable. And then they somehow make it more uncomfortable because the second episode, Sleepover, Dr. Ivy Reed, played by Essence Atkins, starts meddling in Junior's relationship with his wife. Because Junior is basically in arrested development because his father coddled him and gave him everything that he wanted. So he wants to be a filmmaker. That's his whole story in the first movie. That gets abandoned real quick. But his wife, Totona Jackson, her character's name is Nina. Her father, played by Jeffrey Owens, you know, to call back to prior to recording conversations, has given Damon Wayans Jr.'s character a job in like his, like, I think it's like a carpeting or flooring thing. It doesn't matter because it's all been forgotten at this point. But like her father gave him a job and that's what he's working in. But then he's also trying to like get jobs. They live in New York too, which is crazy. Like he wants to be a filmmaker, but I live in New York. So like I'm trying to get commercial work and stuff. It's nuts. So then the sleepover happens, episode 2. And Essence Atkins is sticking her nose and like almost ruins their relationship, to the fact that Damon Wayans Jr. is kicked out and has to go stay at his papa's house. And it's like, no, we're going to get this dealt with. We're going to figure the whole thing out. And that episode is like a nothing episode. It is 100%. We didn't think this show was going to get picked up. Oops. And now we're a show, and what the fuck are we going to do?
Here's a bunch of B-roll that we cut out of the first episode.
Yeah. So then the third episode, there's only 4 episodes. The most recent one is rated a 7.3. It's called School Days. But right now we're going to talk about season 1, episode 3, currently ranked at 7.4, tied with Sleepover, titled Podcast. That's right, Sejan. 3 episodes into the show about this famous radio guy, he quits his job at the radio station because he does not like what they're using AI to make him promote. It's like a Cialis Viagra stand-in. And he's like, when I need to get tough and strong and hard, I take this. And it's all AI, but it's not AI because they just shot Damon Wayans as like a Homie the Clown style character. Not Homie the Clown, but like as a character doing this thing for the Viagra thing.
It was a show he did that on, In Living Color, like an In Living Color bit.
Like an In Living Color bit. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that whole thing happens. So he quits his job because he's like, I don't want you putting my words in my mouth to promote this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. And I mean, the craziest thing about this is they're back in the radio studio, which for the first 2 episodes had a huge makeover so that there could be monitors and cameras, and the freaking microphones kept being plugged in or not plugged in. And it drove me crazy as an audio guy. I'm just going to be honest with you about that. Like, I'm just like, what the fuck? Why can't you just keep a microphone plugged in? How hard is that? Set keepers. But then the third episode, it has reverted to what the studio looked like the very first time we saw him in there, because it is a race to have him quit his job at the radio station and decide to start a podcast. And then Essence Atkins, who they have been nothing but lockhorns, they do not get along. She is given the show. It becomes her show, the Dr. Ivy Reed show. And then because of the same AI fucking bullshit, she quits her job. And now somebody who did not know Papa, somebody like they did not ever get along, and like weird hero worship, they now do a podcast called The Pop and Doc Show. And I have no idea why they do that. And that's what feels like Alexander Incorporated up in here. Meanwhile, this third episode called Podcast, Junior is doing a whole documentary about how his hero and how his father never quits. And it's done like Office style, most of this episode, with like single camera shots, talking head moments. So it's all crazy. And then like the big joke for him in that episode, and I love Damon Wayans Jr. I want to make sure that everybody knows that as I'm about to say this. The joke in the episode Podcast is that he believes The Office is a real documentary. That is what they milk for humor from Damon Wayans Jr. for the 21 minutes.
How is that episode. Not just a one-off joke? How do you turn that into an entire plot?
They tried and it didn't really work. Like, it's a one-off joke that like the Papa's like where Damon Wayans Papa is like he believes The Office is real, and there's no convincing him. And it's like, that just keeps coming up as he's making a documentary. Is that like, oh, like in The Office? And it's just like, what the fuck? So
but
then
he knows but he understands who Steve Carell and John Krasinski are in the world, right? Like,
one would imagine not, Sejan. One would imagine not.
That is batshit insane. Like you said before, that he was being kept he was silver spoon and all that shit, right? Like he was raised in like a bubble, right? And like I get the joke there. This is a whole different level. This is like Buster in fucking Arrested Development level. Like, he cannot be trusted to live outside of this house because he will just hurt himself and others level of insanity that you think that The Office is real.
Yeah. So, like, that's the other thing, is that they live next door to Papa's house, which is a fucking mansion. But Papa's did not buy Junior that house friggin' Jeffrey Owens' JJ character did. Like, so his wife's father bought them the house next door to Papa. And also, like, the Papa's House of it all, if you're going to eliminate the show that he did called Papa's House, why wouldn't you make it that, like, Damon, like, Jr. and his family have to move in with him? No, they just live next door so that we can have multiple set pieces. The 4th episode is called School Days. If you can do this right now, go to IMDb, look up Papa's House. It's Poppa, right? Just do it. Because I want you to see who the top billed actor is in this show.
What, in the show Papa's House?
Top cast, top billed actor. Is
like in Papa's House, top billed actor is River Blossom?
River Blossom. River Blossom did not show up in the show until the 4th episode of it. And she showed up as a background character to Caleb Johnson, who is, 4 rows down from River Blossom as Trey? They are Junior. Yeah, they're Junior and Nina's children. The plot of the 4th episode is that he's trying to convince Papa to give him the $22,725 for yearly tuition at this private school. Because
these are the grandkids.
Yeah, because it's the grandkids. And he doesn't want to do it. And the whole thing is that, like, because you don't like private school, and it's like, no, I don't like this private school. And then the final reveal is that he doesn't want the grandkids to wind up like his son. But the start of the episode is them recording a podcast of the Pop and Doc show, and they're just sitting in like a dining room talking to each other, having like an episode, and he's like, how about a word from our sponsors? Sejim, we're recording a podcast right now. There is nothing to indicate that they are doing this podcast live. In fact, there's no way they could be doing it live because there is no computer present. It is just 2 microphones. As far as I'm concerned, Essen Zakis has been hired to convince Damon Wayans Sr. that he is still recording a show so that he does not like kill himself or something because he has no purpose.
No, it's probably more like the nephew there in fucking Arsenic and Old Lace who thinks he's the president.
Yeah, but it's just
going
like
down to dig more of the Panama Canal. Yes, sir.
Feels like gaslighting this man. And he's like, how about a word from our sponsors? And it's like, that's just like not how podcasting works. And then also they stop recording. And it's like, so if people were listening to this live, you just turned on commercials and then walked away to have your whole thing.
People do throw to commercial in podcasts. Is that what your problem is?
No. But like they don't throw to commercial in podcasts like people do in podcasts. Like then we'll throw to commercial, and it's like he starts commercials. Like it's not we're stopping recording. It's like he hits a button as if commercials are now playing.
And then he just played. No.
Yeah, like it's just like, I know you worked in radio.
Podcast commercials, you know what's crazy about that? Most podcast commercials nowadays are just the podcasters reading like fucking copy.
That's what people prefer. They prefer it that way. If it's like organic. Just like the drinking water available from Great Value. Purified drinking water, 16.9 fluid ounces, 40 for just $5. Water.
And only a little bit of pee in it.
Only a little bit, right? And you need those minerals. This has not been a sponsored ad. I don't want to get sued by Sam Walton's estate for this. This is not real. But that's the type of thing. It's just weird. And then the whole episode is more of like a family drama about like his ex-wife, Papa's ex-wife, and him like locking horns again about whether it is. And the thing they bring up, the only reason that they're recording the podcast in the beginning is that like, we need to figure out a way to get more people to listen to our podcast. How about t-shirts? T-shirts are lame. But then the Deus Machina is that Caleb Johnson, Trey, the little boy who is now a genius, he designed shirts in the design lab at the private school, and that is what makes Papa. They have a QR code on the back, and oh my god, it brings you right to the podcast? Like, what year is this set in?
Okay, but wait, is that the 4th episode?
That's
I thought that was the 3rd
episode. That's the 4th. No, I didn't even talk about the sleepover one, because the sleepover one was just Essen Atkins getting involved with their life at the house.
Stupid.
It was, and it's just like nothing is
Are
happening.
you
here.
happy that you got this off your chest, Devin? Are you glad it's out there? Are you gonna go back to it? Like where are
I
you
don't
on
know.
the
Like
show
this,
now?
I've watched 4 episodes, and every episode has frustrated me. But the fact that it's another, like, Alexander Incorporated, right? I'm gonna bring up Alexander Incorporated right now. It was based on a very popular, like, for real podcast, and it was canceled. I'm trying to think when the show was canceled, because they had like episodes left to air that they just like, here's 4 episodes of Alex Incorporated. Like, I just don't know why. Where is it? I don't know. Talk for a second so I can find this.
Okay. I don't know. Devin's trying to look into Alex Inc., a show long dead that
Right.
we have long outlived. We are the true masters of podcasting.
I love you, man. Yeah, I don't know when it was canceled. It was like, so it was canceled after the 5th episode. Alex Inc. was canceled after the 5th episode because after that they did 2 episodes and then just like burned them all off real quickly. But it was canceled like mid-season, but then we'll just keep showing episodes, right? Like, it was a weird one, right? I don't know if that's going to happen with this, but also, like, why would you do another sitcom based on podcasting? People don't understand it. Like, that is like just the fact of the matter is that, like, the people who watch broadcast television, so ABC, CBS, and NBC, had a big fight about my mother because, you know, we talked about episodes ago about the 3-way and Dr. Odyssey. It is the first threesome on broadcast television. And you know how I know this? And I'll put my stamp on that, right? This is my fucking Loch Ness Monster. I know this because Days of Our Lives had a threesome in 2022, but it was 2 weeks after it stopped being broadcast and started being streaming only. So, like, I would reference the weird serial killer 3-way that happened in The Following, where, like, the 3 serial killers, like, the one guy liked the girl, but she was with the other guy, and then, like, to continue manipulating them, she slept with both of them at the same time. Like, that's it. But then, like, no, Fox is not considered the same as ABC, CBS, or NBC, apparently.
There is definitely implied 3-way relationships in Hannibal, but I will say that I think a lot of that is more, like, heady. I mean, like, you see the 3 of them in the bed together, but it's supposed to be more meta. I don't know, but there is definitely in that, and that was on CBS.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I get that that's on CBS and that whole thing. I mean, Gossip Girl really got the ire of the PTC, the Parental Television Council, with a threesome that they showed back in 2009. But again, it wasn't like considered over the air broadcast because it was the CW, which is just crazy to me. But yeah, so I don't know why I bring that up because, like, you know, like history and all of that stuff. But, like, the type of people who are going to grasp at their pearls because, oh my God, 3 people had sex together are the type of people who don't understand what a podcast is. Like, I just want to, I don't mean to be rude about that.
No, but, like, I think that, like, you got to look at shows like Murphy Brown, like, comes to mind. But these ones that really kind of leaned into giving people a glimpse into an industry that they weren't aware of was actually very fun and sometimes problematic because, like, it was kind of oversimplifying things or getting things wrong in a way that led people. So, like, I think about, like, a news radio, right? Like, being a way for people to, like, kind of see the ways in which what goes on behind the scenes, behind how radio works and, like, stuff like that. I don't know. Like, people eat that shit up when it's done right. I mean, you mentioned Frasier, right? And, like, what's going on in Frasier is pretty accurate, but not entirely. There's some stuff that he does from a psychiatry side of things that's a little weird, but he is a celebrity psychiatrist, so there's a whole bunch of stuff there. People like that when it's handled well and when it's minimal. The problem is Alex Inc. got into the nitty fucking gritty.
Yeah.
Like, the entire plot of the first few episodes of that were them trying to find a space to record. It was all about them doing the podcast, and that was where people got turned off. They don't give a shit about him wanting to do the podcast. They want him to be a podcaster. right? And so if they can lean into that with Papa's House, where they don't care about him trying to figure out how to podcast, but he is now a famous podcaster. Again, if he's just a Joe Rogan type that they can then like laugh at every week, I think there's actually potential there for some people to be very into that. The problem is when they get into like the ins and outs and the hows and whys of why podcasting is what it is.
All right, so based on what Sejan is saying, Papa's House is currently sitting at a place where it could be the first successful podcast television show. And that scares me a little bit because they do not know what they want to do with that show. And also, I found the date. Alex Inc. was canceled on May 9th, 2018. And looking at it, just to make sure I have it, yeah, an episode aired that night and then an episode aired the next week. So they aired 8 episodes before canceling it. And they canceled it the day they're like, oh, by the way, this show's canceled. Here's 2 more episodes. Hope you're not invested. Hope you're not making a podcast about Alexander Incorporated.
Yeah. Well, they just had to fuck us. That's all.
So, yeah, but that's just the way. I mean, like, but also, like, the other thing about Papa's House, a couple of things. One, we did Bulletproof over at the Adam Sandler Cinematic Universe in 2024, right? That's me being like, we're going to keep this one in the bank till 2025. That's high hopes right there, right? Whoops, there goes another rubber tree. And, like, he was so good in Bulletproof, right? Like, I really remembered why I loved Damon Wayans, the senior, right? And as much as I love that, like, Max Greenfield is on The Neighborhood and then Damon Wayans Jr. is on Papa's House on Monday nights on CBS, like, this show is not good. and it mostly feels like a lot of the stuff I've noticed from 2024 television, right? Like Dr. Odyssey specifically, where they're like, we just did a pilot so that we could have people working during pilot season. We were never expecting this to get picked up. But
wait, are we past the era of the complete revamp, like the season 2 restart? I was just like the most recent one that I can think of, because I was just watching it, was I was watching Bones the other day. Okay. And the season 2 premiere of Bones is a complete restart on that series. It gives you a bunch of the same backstory you already knew, new backstory on new characters that come in and change the formula up, a whole kind of like reset on what that show is after season 1. Right. And like, I think of other shows that did that. Like I think the most famous one is probably Saved by the Bell, right? Where it started out as Good Morning, Miss Bliss.
Yeah.
Right. And then like became Saved by the Bell in season 2 and focused much more on the kids instead of her and stuff like that. Like there was a complete shift because they just recognized where they finally recognized where they wanted to go as a creative team. Right. Are we past that era of television? Do we see that anymore?
So the last one that I can think of, the one that jumps to mind, and it's because we covered it here, is Kevin Can Wait, where season 1 he was a retired police officer married to Erin Hayes, and then the second season starts. His wife is dead. His wife is killed off camera. And now he is in a security business, a private security business, with his old partner, who is played by Leah Remini, who was his wife in The King of Queens. She also featured in Saved by the Bell, if we're going to track everything. The Hawaiian movie. Yeah.
To be clear, though, they still call it Kevin Can Wait, right?
Yes, they do still call it, but they still call it Bones. So, like, that's where the argument is. Was Bones something else in its first season?
No, right? But that's what I'm pointing to, right? Is like I feel like with Bones and Kevin Can Wait, we've kind of proven that we're not in the era where we just completely revamp everything. We don't want to confuse the audience too much, right? And then like since those shows, I haven't seen anything like that, right? Because Kevin Can Wait did its whole restart. Was that mid-COVID or
season 2? Post? No, that was that was like 2018 that happened. I don't know. It's just I was still working my first job at the company. It was before I moved into the more central place on the campus. So like, yeah. I don't know. Like but also like what you're talking about is like the Torkelsons becoming almost home in the second season, where the first one was about the Torkelson family and how hard it is to raise 5 kids in the South while being the most charming woman in the world.
Yeah.
And then
there's like there's the smaller version of this where shows like Family Matters recognized how big Urkel was and became made him more of a central character, right?
Right.
Like so there's like little examples of that, but as far as like big entire revamps, like throw the whole fucking, bath, throw the baby out with the bathwater style revamp of a show that you got with like Saved by the Bell, and then like later on you do kind of see it with stuff all the way up till Kevin Can Wait. Like I'm curious to see if we ever see anything like that again, because like this show sounds like it might be ripe for it.
This show has done it every episode so far. Like the fourth episode, with it being more of this focus on like, I'm a little upset at how I raised you as a son, and I want to make sure those are not the mistakes that are made. Like, it felt more like a family drama. Like, the fact that he was this famous radio guy, like, barely even functioned in the episode. And the fact that, like, River Blossom is the top build for 6 episodes of this series, I feel like they make it more of a, like, semi-grounded, all of us trying to, like, just, like, kind of like Modern Family, but not as, like, I guess high concept would be where I would go from that, right? Like, where it's just like, it's just family drama every week, as opposed to
what's the New Adventures of Old Christine, right? With her and,
Yeah.
and Clark Gregg there raising the kids and stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, like, it feels more like it's going to be that. Like, like those first 2 episodes really felt like a race to get Damon Wayans Sr. to sleep with Essence Atkins, despite the like 30-year age difference there. That like was kind of weird. But like, that's what we're pushing. That seems to be the narrative. And that seems now like she seems superfluous to the show after the introduction of his ex-wife in the 4th episode. Like, she was kind of a prop, and it was weird because like she was the 4th lead she was the 3rd lead, really, right? Totona Jackson was the 4th lead, if anything. And then to look at IMDb and to show like the kids are the top build, like, I really do wonder what's going to happen after this 4th episode. Mm-hmm. But it is one of those ones where I do not feel like Papa's House gets a 2nd season. And what you're talking about is the fact that like that is what TV used to be, and we are so fucking past. Well, we put in a time investment into this. Let's see if we can find it an audience, right? Famously, Seinfeld. If Seinfeld would have gotten canceled back in the 90s if the head of NBC wasn't a fan of it. Like, it's not
Right.
even like one of those situations where like we put in this money into this, we want to develop it. It was, we should cancel this show. And the head of NBC saying like, no, but I kind of like it. So like, we're going to keep it going. Right? Like, that stuff doesn't happen. We don't give shows a full season to figure out what they are anymore. And part of that is the fact that a full season of television now is 10 episodes. Like, there's not going to be another Papa's House. One of the other reasons why I want to talk about it, a new episode of Papa's House doesn't happen until November 25th. So if you're following along, that's 2 weeks before we have a new episode of Papa's House. And that's the type of thing where, like, we're going to try to revamp what we have and see if we can save this show with the last 6 episodes we've been given money for. Like, that's what it feels like. Like, I don't know. I've talked enough about Papa's House, but I had to get it off my chest. The Loch Ness Monster, though, was the one that, like, now I'm starting to feel like I live in the world, a harmony with my fellow man. So what's your last topic, Siege? And bring us on home, big guy.
I don't want this to be a downer, because I do want this to be somewhat of a celebration of the topic, but I understand that it's dangerous as we are right now in the world that we're in.
Dangerous Bangers with Siege and Sarowick.
Dev, I've been thinking a lot lately, just with the downfall of Zitter and all this shit, and people trying to figure out like what the internet even is anymore. I really get the feeling that people don't remember how fucking buck wild the internet used to be. And this led me down a rabbit hole of looking at things on like the internet.
You can't say rabbit hole. Archive. You're thinking about a vagina right now, aren't you? I can't believe that a woman convinced the king that like, I'm birthing rabbits.
And it's not the king so much as his like taxpayer or whatever, the tax like payouts and all that shit. But there was this remember there was this little website back in the day.
Oh
There's
my god.
just a silly ass website that you would go to every now and then just because you needed a good laugh sometimes. And it was called Mr. T Ate My Balls. Do you remember that website?
I actually don't. You know what? I got to be completely honest about this conversation regarding the internet. I am so fucking internet illiterate. It blows my mind. Like, I was hanging out with some people this past weekend, and they're like, oh yeah, that was this era of the internet. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, they were talking about, I couldn't even tell you what they were talking about. But they were like referencing their own timelines in this world based on things that were popular on the internet. And I'm like, you the man now, dog. GeoCities. That's where I'm at. I don't know nothing about
man.
Mr. T eating my balls, buddy.
You know, it's like the man. Like I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth here, but it's like the original like internet meme. Like it was like it would be whatever. Like so, Mr. T ate my balls was the original joke, but then the joke was then whatever ate my balls. So like you would just put whatever in front of it, like Crash Bandicoot ate my balls or some shit like that. Or if you wanted to be like fucking edgy, you would be like Spyro.
Spyro ate my balls.
But
Mama! Mama,
there's
Spyro ate my balls,
but
mama!
it's not just about Mr. T eating my balls. I just want that to be clear. It is it is this idea that like you mentioned like your Who's the Man Now dog, right?
Yeah.
Which was another website that you would go to. Or I remember like the fucking like the cream of the crop on this shit was like Newgrounds, right? But then you also had kind of your like darker like off brands of that were like Steak and Cheese and Maddox and shit, where basically these all just became porn sites eventually because like they just fell so far down their just own depravity that they just became these like these kind of cesspools of shit, right? But that's just what happened, was that like a website would crop up and it would be this kind of like free space for people to kind of come in and explore and check the space out, and then really immature people would come in and fuck the space up, and people and fans of it would hate it, but they'd move on, and then they'd leave it to just be completely fucking ruined by these assholes, right? And it's interesting because I'm like watching it happen kind of in real time right now on things like Twitter, on things like Reddit, where you just kind of watch these spaces that bubbles have currently burst for a very specific reason, right? And like and the space is now being filled by just some of the most like horrid shit out there. And there are some people out there lamenting like, oh no, what is the internet going to be in 5 years if this thing doesn't exist anymore? And this is not me saying like don't fight the good fight. I this is not me being fatalistic or anything like that. You have to understand that this has happened before. The internet has always been this thing that has been a free space that people come into, try and start a conversation, instantly it gets ruined by Nazis, and they run off to a different space. That's just been the fucking history of these internet spaces, these free thinking spaces. And like, I don't know what to say to that. Like, I hope one day we can find some space that we are safe on the internet that is not invaded by assholes, but that is not the case. It's never been the case. And so like the key is you need to educate yourself to make these free spaces. You need to figure out what you can do. I think a really good move right now is a lot of Discord spaces for people. Like I think like I said, I want this to be kind of a hopeful, endearing message. I like there are spaces out there right now that are not full of shit. I promise you. It's going to be harder to find them, and you're going to have to do a lot more legwork, and that part sucks. But they are out there, right? And just people being really kind of caught up in like the internet just becoming like horrid at the moment don't seem to remember that like what happened to certain things on the internet before.
I think so what you're talking about is true. Obviously, like I'm like game FAQs or game facts. What are you, a game facts or a game FAQ guy, Siegen?
Oh, always a game fact guy. Always a game fact.
I'm game FAQs, and there, right there, is why the singularity of Devin and Siegen has never happened, because there will always be those outlier things, or we will die on the hill.
You're one of those GIF motherfuckers, aren't you?
Oh no, I'm a GIF guy, right?
Okay.
Fuck the creator of graphical interchange format being like it's actually pronounced GIF. Guy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't mean to be
the
rude.
guy that invented the baseline for internet trolling somehow said something that upset half the internet,
people?
and we're supposed to just go. Yeah, we're just supposed to go with him on that. No.
Yeah, that G is short for graphical, so it's a hard G. GIF. That's how acronyms work, right? I don't know. That fucking guy. But no, I'm not that. But I game FAQs, because that's just what I always called it. And I mean, I was on game FAQs God, back like I was 10 years old, like the first time I visited Game FAQs, and I'm like, this is awesome. All these games I
Young,
never played, I get to read the stories of them.
and that's how you get ruined.
That is how you get ruined. But yeah, but that's like that whole thing happened, right? And I remember being on like this old secret Super Mario RPG. So I'm a freshman in high school. Super Mario RPG is a game that I bought over the summer at the flea market, played it to death, found this like resource online that was an early, like it might not have been GeoCities, but it was like that type of level where like there was a contest to see if you could answer the trivia questions, and I was the 9th person who got all the trivia questions right, and like a photo of me was put up on this website, and it's just like, this is weird, right? And the photo I used was a photo that my mom used on her work website that I was in, that I just cropped everybody but me out of and submitted to these people, where they're like, you're the 9th person to get all the quizzes correct. And I'm just like, what a and nesfan.org was like this old NES fan site, and I remember when it shut down because the guy couldn't afford to like host the website anymore. And that was like 2001. And it was like this crazy thing, but like it was my life at the time. Yes, I remember all of these things that fell. I don't know if it's still up. I don't want to check if it's still up right now while we're recording. But there was definitely was a GeoCities website for Cannibal the Musical. Like there was a Cannibal the Musical GeoCities website, and I became friends with the guy who kept that site alive. Like the one moderator, one admin that kept that site alive. And because like he wanted to share all this information about it, and like nobody else was interested. So like we just started corresponding via email about this. And like that didn't go bad, but like I didn't know the fucking internet at the time, right? This is a stranger person. The World of Monkey Island forums. When I don't know if that even exists anymore. And honestly, Monkey Island has become so like kind of diluted by like the Telltale games, and then the last game that Ron Gilbert did, and like that, like as much as I want Return to Monkey Island, the final game that released, to like be this good thing, there's so much delusion to that series because Monkey Island 3 was like made by fans of the original games and is essentially licensed fan fiction. Ditto Escape from Monkey Island. And then the Telltale games, like that was just, we're making this for the money, right? Forget everything you know about this series before. But I remember, all right, so do you know, you were there when I got my license, right? Do you know one of the reasons I did when I first got my license, Sejin? I was so new to driving, right? Here's the thing. Right now, if I had had my license for any longer than I had it at the time in 2005, I would have driven to Baltimore for what I'm about to tell you. On the World of Monkey Island forum, I had found kids who were at a Baltimore high school who wrote a stage adaptation of The Secret of Monkey Island, the first Monkey Island game.
Oh, right. Yes, you've talked to me about this story before.
And I wanted to go see it, but like I was still too new to driving, so I hired a taxi that met me at a Baltimore freaking Amtrak. I took the train down. I drove to the train station myself. Like that, the Kingston train station, I drove there myself. Got on a train, went to Baltimore but via train, met up with this guy, Hattie Ibrahim. I'll say his name. He was fantastic. He was essentially my valet the whole time I was there to go see this show. And like, that's the thing that I did when I was 18 years old. That's insane to think about that as a thing at 18 that I did, right?
You know what? I have a friend that she does a lot of dealing in musical instrument pieces and parts.
Yep.
She does a lot of repair work and things like that. And one of the best ways to go about that work is to find people on online places and tradesies, right? Like that's just, for some of that stuff, it's the only way you're ever going to find what you're looking for. So we have gone on many a mission to like a city 2 towns away that like, you know, we find like a Walmart parking lot. I make sure to go with them. Like we are, I stay in the driver's seat with my phone like at the ready to call 911 instantly if need be. And then they get out, they meet with somebody under a light so that everybody can see what's going on. Like the ways in which we are so careful about this. And you know, these are often just like dudes that just have one too many guitars that are selling off a guitar, right? Or like or guys out there that have like taken apart like certain electrical instruments that are just like, yeah, you know, I think I've still got the stereo for my amp, like that kind of shit. Like, and we still are very careful because like you just don't know who you can trust anymore. But that was learned, right? This way in which we do this stuff. This was learned because of a terrible dark history in which the thing existed, right? And so just it is just fascinating to me to watch a lot of this shit falling apart because even I will admit that I had kind of fooled myself into thinking we had broken through some type of barrier in generating these spaces and keeping them safe and clean. And I had it was a complete lie. Like I think a lot of people really learned this week that the spaces in which they really felt safe, they still needed to be on guard. Right. And I think that's true IRL, like in the meat space, as well as online, especially online, because I think a lot of people really learned what kind of bubbles they had put themselves in. Again, me included. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm on some high horse who saw all of this shit coming. Not with the spaces I was in.
Yeah.
I was just as caught off guard by as many other people. Right. And the idea that I but the idea that like I am looking at these spaces now in the interim in the last 9 days, as you pointed out earlier, like the ways in which they have filled with just some of the most grossest voices right now, that part has not been surprising to me in the least.
I think the problem stands like, so we went through the bubble, right? There was an internet bubble. There was the .com bubble where like literally you could become a billionaire just by registering like web domains that people would eventually want to buy from you, right? There was a bubble. We witnessed that bubble burst, right? To kids who have always had the internet, much like the Loch Ness Monster, I'm so proud of myself, it has just always existed, right? But we watched it be like born and gestate and grow the way that it grew. So like we're aware of this stuff that happened, but a funny thing happened on the way to the information superhighway. And what happened was monoliths began to appear, right? There was a bunch of like E-Bombs World, Newgrounds, right? You mentioned those, Vimeo, Daily Motion. There were all of these video sharing sites, but the monolith, and we're still fucking dealing with that fact, is YouTube, right? YouTube became the place for like sharing videos on the internet, right? And people build their careers on YouTube. Facebook, right? Facebook existed alongside like LiveJournal, MySpace, and Facebook came out as the monolith, the thing that we can always trust. And then Twitter comes along, and Twitter is like, I'm like Facebook, but it's more of like you have to, your words are valuable, right? Like remember when you had 120 character limit for a tweet?
Yeah.
Right? Like that was the difference, was that like Facebook, you can put whatever the fuck you want. Twitter, you have to be succinct, right? Every character has value and you need to learn how to do it. So like, but that came up as a sort of monolith for like succinct sharing of news because of what it is. Like that became journalism. So it's the fact that we have all these monoliths now, and those monoliths have stood strong and tall for like 15 years, right? It's been a decade for any of the monoliths that I just mentioned, right? YouTube is going to turn 20 years old next year. 2025 is the 20th anniversary of YouTube. Think about that.
All right, now we're starting to get to the point of the show where he needs to just go have a drink.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I recently became Devin Decker again. I'm sorry, but like it is because of these monoliths, these ever existing monoliths for so many people, for an entire generation, that like is reacting in this way because we never thought these could fall, right? I don't want to make a comparison to 9/11, but like America thought that it was safe until that terrorism attack happened, right? And we have never truly felt safe in this country since that attack happened. Whether it be just the fact that if you go to the airport, like everything that you have to do that was not the way prior to that, right? Like that's a line in the sand. And what we're coming upon is just another delineation line of like things that matter, and it's just, it has always happened, right? Like you're just talking about the internet and how it has this ever evolving, changing nature to it, but it's life, right? It's
but the important
everything.
bit, though, I think, the other side of that coin to remember that I was pointing to is that as much as shit changes, shit just stays the same.
Yeah.
like we are staring down the barrel of another Bush too, right? And I'm sure that there are people alive right now that remember when Nixon won or when Reagan got in. Like there are all these people that have these memories that they just can't believe. Like this is where they were at when this thing happened, you know? All I keep thinking about, just to put a cap on my final thoughts for this, the real big thing that I keep thinking about in all of this week is that bit in fucking Definitely Maybe, the Ryan Reynolds
movie, but continue,
romantic comedy. But it's the Ryan Reynolds romantic dramedy that takes place at 3 points in his life, right? It's all about 3 different women in his life that he has had strong relationships with, and all of this, right? And one of the eras of him in that movie is him working in the 90s for the Clinton campaign. And then you get to see the night where everything goes, or the week or the month or whatever, where all of that shit starts to go down with Monica Lewinsky, right?
Yeah.
And like all of that starts to come out, and the trial, and then Clinton finally like coming out and resigning and all that stuff, or not resign. Yeah, he resigned before he could be impeached, right? Isn't that like his whole big thing?
That was the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like watching, but you get to watch it from Reynolds' perspective, the character's perspective the entire time, as a guy that worked on the Clinton campaign and like really worked for him, right? And just all of this, the reactions of him just being like throwing Chinese food at the TV, being like, "Come on!" like, and I have that little version of Ryan Reynolds just been in my head for like a week now.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Yeah, Definitely Maybe, where Ryan Reynolds is somehow Abigail Breslin's father, and we don't know if Rachel Weisz, I don't remember the other two. One of them, Elizabeth Banks, is she one of them?
I do believe,
and then Isla Fisher? Is that the 3 women? That's the 3 women.
And Isla, and if I remember correctly, Isla Fisher is the one he really loves, but spoiler alert, she may not be the mom. yeah.
Fuck yeah. Definitely Maybe. Definitely Maybe is How I Met Your Mother, the movie. And like, go fuck yourself.
No, I love that movie.
I hate that movie, but that's because I had Elizabeth Banks and Isla Fisher and a Rachel Weisz. And that's how that movie felt to me. Was just like, how am I only friggin' 22 years old and this movie feels so much like my life? Which, you know what? That's going to be where I end this in a nice moment, right? Because this has been a weird little time capsule, but something else happened to me this week. One of the people that I work with, on my recommendation, because he had never seen this film, saw Clerks 2. And he really
I just watched Clerks 2 this week too.
Excellent,
sorry,
right? No, that's fine. Clerks 2, right? It's actually pretty good, right? We're coming to terms with Kevin Smith, Sejan, and I at the same report. Whoever
I don't know what you mean by coming to terms with it. I have always been in terms with Kevin Smith. Yeah. I still am a fan, still have a very strong faith in the man as a phenomenal artist that has done a lot of growing up along me. So
yes, like, that's fair, right? So he's right. I don't know. I feel like that's coming to terms, right? Like understanding that like he's grown up and he's had to go through some shit and things like that. So I have a coworker who watched the movie because I told him he should watch it, and he really liked it. And I'm like, yeah, that movie's weird for me because it represents the time that I lost all of my friends. And I know, right? Like, oh my God, Devin, this is supposed to be the happy moment. This is supposed to be the happy thing. But all of my friends from high school, right? And that's what it was, right? This was a growing up moment for me, right? We're talking about Kevin Smith growing up, whatever that. Like, all the people I was friends with from high school, they all went on a road trip, and they did not tell me. And it's one of those situations where, like, you're trying to find people to go see Clerks 2 with, and none of your friends are around, and nobody told you that. But then I think about later, right? First of all, it's probably good that I don't hang out with any of my high school friends. In fact, the person whose idea with that definitely been to jail and or prison. I'm not sure which one, right? I'm not going to say the name. If you know, you know. That's the end of it. But then I think about how Clerks 2, we went to go meet Kevin Smith after that film came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching The Middle, right? I'm sure I've talked about it by the time this episode releases. On Sejan's recommendation, I've been watching the show The Middle. And I just watched the episode where Sue was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get my license. I'm never going to get to go on that road trip with my 3 closest friends and grow to be the woman I'm supposed to be. And it really kind of took the Clerks 2 and like, just like, all of my friends being like, yeah, let's conspire behind Dev's back. And again, like, I'm being hyperbolic about that, right? Like, I don't think everybody had like ill intentions. I know for a fact that the one person did because he later apologized for it, which like, none of that makes it better, but like, I can confirm he's like, I didn't want to invite you, right? Like, and I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that point is. That's not the point. But the point is, I went on a road trip to go meet the guy who made Clerks 2 because it weirdly became like my salve movie. And that is the reason why we're doing the Say Report right now. If we hadn't gone to meet Kevin Smith in 2006, Sejan, I don't know if we'd be doing this podcast right now. And after seeing you a couple of weeks ago from when we recorded this, like, thank you, Sejan. Thank you for being the guy who like had his head on his shoulders at the proper orientation so that they didn't try to give Kevin Smith a copy of their movie. Or like,
no, man, I had him fucking, all I had him do was sign that one issue of Daredevil he wrote about 9/11 and then never wrote anymore.
Yup. I had him sign Spider-Man and the Black Cat. I like to joke that I'm the reason he finally finished those books because I reminded him, you did 3 parts. Thank you. But also, like, those other 2 people that we went on that trip with, they were not invited to go, like, hang in the store. They were shuffled out of the store. And I remember meeting Michael Bowen and us just treating Michael Bowen like a human being.
We got to meet Michael Bowen. That was fucking rad.
Yeah, like, it was this incredible thing. And
I was actually just thinking about him this week, too, because I fucking was watching Boy Meets World and Ethan Suplee showed up. And, of course, you know I immediately thought of
Evolution, baby.
Fucking
I'm right there.
Evolution.
Yeah. Where do you think my mind went? But yeah, like, so like, it was just one of those things that like, I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't looking for origins of Devin and Sejan, origins of the Say Report, right? I wasn't looking for that, but I found it this week. And I mean, that's one of the other reasons why I just wanted to do like a weird time capsule to do it, because I was reminded of that moment that you and I shared, right? We fucking, God, that White Castle did not agree with us. And those
Neither of us, nope.
Yeah. But, you know, we got to meet Kevin Smith, and it was because of Clerks 2 that he even did the event and all of that. So just thank you, Sejan, is what I'm saying. Thank you for being in that road trip with me and for actually helping me become the woman I was supposed to be.
Man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I do. I really do. So thank you for this time capsule episode.
I appreciate you getting my ass off the fucking couch and doing shit when we were in college. The amount of shit that I have gotten to say that I did in this world merely because you were like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Come with me." And I was like, "Yeah, all right. I need to not be one with this cushion any longer." Yeah.
Well, you're a pretty great wingman for most of the situations that I had, and you can be my wingman anytime. All right. So I think that this has got it's midnight. We've now crossed into November 15th, 2024, at least on my part of the country. And admittedly, I sent Sejan a picture of my bill from the night that I had before we recorded. When this releases, if I remember, I'll throw it in supplemental materials. And if I don't throw it in supplemental materials,
remember anything right now?
I know that there are people out there who will listen and be like, "Hey, did you ever post that in supplemental materials?" And a big thank you to Claude and to Hab Guy for keeping me honest. I really do appreciate it. With that being said, thank you for joining us for this time capsule episode of the Say Report. If anything that has happened in episodes prior to this episode, discount or discredit anything said in this one, like tough titties, man. We recorded this on November 14th, 2024. Things change. But if you want to keep the conversation going, we do have a Discord. As Sejan said, Discord may become the place where the discourse on the internet continues as all of these monoliths fall. So if you want to join the conversation with us, we currently have invitations up on our social media sites on Facebook, which we said might be dying, and Twitter, or X, formerly Twitter, or what did you call it? Zitter? I liked that a lot, Sejan. I want to make sure.
I don't know how else you say it, but Exeter,
right? Yeah, that sounds pretty good. But yeah, so there are currently invitations available on our social media sites. Just search for The Say Report on either Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, or you can always send an email to us at The Say Report. It's thesayreport@gmail.com, and we'll send you an invitation out, or if you just want to correspond with us, like I used to correspond with Alfred Packer on the old Cannibal the Musical GeoCities website, you could just send emails to thesayreport@gmail.com. And if it is specifically for myself, Devin Decker, or for my companion, Season Sarowick, make sure you put our names in the subject line, and we will make sure Storm Shadow is here to make sure that it gets to the right person. I have Storm Shadow on the desk now. I have something else that I wanted to add, but I forgot to do it before recording. And now I'm just telling you about the things that are on my desk. These are the things on my desk. Anywho, any other final thoughts, Sejan, before we send this one off to Will for processing?
No, I'm just happy the cannibal didn't eat you, man. I'm looking at Alfred Packard information now, and I'm just like real scared for you.
No, I think it was just like that was his name on the internet, but I appreciate you looking out. With that, thank you.
Did he called himself that on the internet, and that makes you feel better?
Yeah, you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, how was I not eaten by some German guy? Anywho, thank you so much for joining us for this time capsule episode. We'll see you next week for another new episode. And until then, William, please bring us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Seaton Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report. And you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.